Hi everyone, welcome to my presentation on the gamification of e-learning. I'm going to talk about how video game style and methods of playing games are being used in an educational setting. First of all, a little background. There's a difference between gamification and using traditional games, game-based learning, like board games and card games. Gamification of e-learning specifically relates to digital learning. And there are programs, which many of us are probably familiar with, like Prodigy and Lexia, which are prepackaged and which a lot of schools and teachers use to teach different subjects. And there are also tools like Kahoot and PearDeck that educators can use to create video game style learning applications for their own lessons. This is particularly appealing at this particular point in time because they are so video game style learning applications are so appealing to students, and also because they allow for leveling, and because of the epidemic, many students are behind, although some are ahead, and we do often need to break out and have students work on their own or work in small groups. And so digital-based learning is particularly accessible and appealing to students for those reasons. One of my key points is that game-based gamified learning supplements traditional teaching and learning, but it doesn't replace it. So the way that it would be effectively used in classroom is for a teacher to teach content and then to use game-based digital learning as learning extension, or to have students practice a skill at home or on their own. And one other point that I want to make, which is on the slide, is that there's a something called a Gartner's hype cycle, which is a framework for analyzing what stage of adoption a new technology is in. And gamification is in an early stage of being adopted. It's super popular, everyone's talking about it, but the long-term success of gamification hasn't yet been determined. There are studies in progress now, but it may be that after all is said and done, that it has its pros, but it also has its cons. And so right now it's just super popular, but that may level out a bit as time goes on. As I mentioned earlier, one of the great things about gamification is the differentiation that it allows. With game-based learning applications like Prodigy, students pick their own path. They make choices in what they want to work on, and they also level up as they go. They complete tasks, and as they complete a certain number of tasks, they move up to the next level, just like in a video game. Right now, we're going to just take a brief look at Lexia, which is a gamified program that teaches reading.
Lexia Qualified Reading helps students of all abilities in grades K through 5 become successful readers and confident learners. In Core 5, students develop both foundational and advanced literacy skills, so they have the skills and knowledge they need to make the critical shift from learning to reading to learn. Our 3-part adaptive blended learning is powered by connecting artificial intelligence with human intelligence for data that keeps students motivated and engaged as they work independently through their personalized learning path in the online student program. Provides teachers and school leaders with real-time student data to make informed decisions, all without stopping to administer a task.
So you can see there that Lexia demonstrated how engaging their interface is. It does look like a fun video game that kids would like. and they showed a student using the blended model of learning. He had his Chromebook on his desk, and presumably the teacher had delivered some direct instruction previously, and then he was working on specific phonics skills or reading skills in Lexia. Another point I want to make is that gamification of e-learning ties in with the growth mindset. Now in mathematics, which is what I teach, growth mindset is something we talk about a lot. Sometimes students get stuck. They feel like they can't do something and then they want to quit, or worse, they actually do quit. And gamification puts kids in the mode of playing a game. And playing a game, you try and you fail, and then you try again, sometimes over and over again. It gamified academic platforms rely on a gamer's persistence. And they also use something called backward grading, where the player or the learner starts with 0 and then gains points as they go, rather than the traditional grading method where a student starts at 100 and then gets marked down as they make mistakes. And this is thought to encourage persistence and help learners keep a positive attitude so that they want to keep going. Another facet of gamification is competitiveness. It harnesses a positive competition between players or learners so that it motivates them, but they don't feel discouraged. And there is some academic research to back this up, and I have in my reading list some of the studies which show that this competition does have a positive effect. And as I've said earlier, it is super engaging, fun graphics, really fast pace, just like regular video games. Gamified e-learning is very appealing to students. And there is also academic research to back this up. There's a field of psychology, which is underpinned by neuroscience, called gamification psychology, which proves that gamified learning sets when a student receives a reward inside a game or an app like Lexia or Prodigy, dopamine is released to the brain, and so they have almost like a runner's high because they've won something, and so that keeps them going. Some of the concerns about e-learning are, of course, screen time. Parents think that their kids are maybe getting too much screen time, maybe it's isolating. So it's important for teachers to keep an eye on that and make sure that kids are spending enough time interacting face-to-face, and also hopefully collaborating, which is one of the 4 C's of 21st century learning. They can collaborate while they are playing the game. There's also security issues, particularly if kids are outside of the school's firewall, they're working at home. You don't want the chat feature to be enabled. You want to be careful about who they are interacting with, and you also have to watch out for ads. And then, of course, there's equity. You know, if you're going to use an app at home, like Prodigy, you need to have a device, and you also need to have reliable internet access, and not everyone has that. And so that's an issue that's being addressed by districts and by the federal government. So in addition to these prepackaged programs like Lexia and Prodigy, you can also create your own gamified learning by using a package like PearDeck or Kahoot. And you want to be sure that you use the features of video games. You want to have really engaging graphics, maybe a video. You want to have a storyline or a hook that draws the kids in, and you want to give them rewards for the accomplishments that they achieve within your game. This is an example of using Kahoot.
Hi, we're Kahoot. We're on a mission to make learning awesome. Our game-based learning platform is used by millions of people all over the world: teachers, students, company employees, and lifelong learners. Kahoot makes it easy to create fun learning games or trivia quizzes in minutes.
anytime, anywhere. We call them Kahoots. It works for any subject, in any language, on any device. You can also discover and play existing games. There are millions of Kahoots in our library.
You can see how fun Kahoot is, and I'm sure a lot of us have used it. It's really easy and it's really fun. I've used it and I've used Quizlet and PearDeck, and you can do some really awesome things, and it's not hard at all. And there are also pre-made Kahoots and PearDecks that you can just borrow and put onto your Seesaw page or your Google Classroom, and they're really great. If you want to learn more about gamification, there's tons of information online. There's ISTE, the Gamification Research Network, and also the federal government has the Office of Educational Technology, which has a whole area of their site where you can learn more about gamification. Thanks for watching my video.